Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. So just keep the door closed. So what we did in the morning was absolutely the essence and the most important thing that we are going to talk about. If you have to think about that. And there to what we did in the morning, the third verse, that you are the consciousness in which you have experiences. That thing, try to get your mind around that thing, try to understand and appreciate what that is saying. That's absolutely the essence. That's the key, that's the secret key to unlock the door. And afterwards, from now onwards, we will have stories, Vedantic tales. The door has been unlocked. And it will not be locked again. All right.
If it opens up picture.
Yeah. Now, about Brahman and Satchidananda, existence, consciousness, bliss, that's my real nature. If you say that, what we tried to say in the first class, in the first talk, many questions arise at this point. And what happened?
Yes.
Yeah. Many questions arise at this point, and now we must deal with these questions. These questions, we must answer these questions. We will take it at a leisurely pace now for this class and tomorrow onwards. Remember what we are going to discuss now and tomorrow onwards, now and tomorrow and almost till the day after. It will be a story. Let me tell you the story in brief, in a very simple way first, and then we will go into the text. Here is the short version of the story. Alan Watts, who was a very clever man, a philosopher who taught in the Bay Area, San Francisco for some time. He was British. So he taught there for some time. He was very much into Vedanta, he was into Buddhism, and very witty and very humorous. So he told this story. He said, if people ask me, explain the secret of what's going on here, what's the meaning of all of this? This is the answer that I give. He says, I tell them a story, and the story, he says, usually little children understand it faster than grown-up people. The story is this. God is all that existed ever and ever. But existing for ever and ever, God got a bit lonely. All by his lonesome self. So God decided, in order to have some fun, that God would play hide and seek. But whom would God play hide and seek with? Because there is none other than God. So God hit upon a clever plan. To play hide and seek, God hit upon a clever plan. What was the plan? That God decided to be not God. God disguised himself as not God. Not God means God disguised himself as you and him and her and me and the rock and the tree and the planets and atoms. Not God. And began to play this game of hide and seek. And it went on merrily. It was a nice plan and the game succeeded. And God was having a lot of fun. But the problem was, God being God was awfully good at what he did. And pretending to be not God, he really forgot that he was God. And then the game became a nightmare. Forgetting his God nature, now he's trapped in this nightmare and seeking a way to go back, to get out of this. So, that is the whole secret of this universe, of life. That's what's going on here. That's the answer to the question. What's going on here? What is this? It's a beautiful story actually. Now what we're going to read from now on is exactly that story, but told in a much more philosophical and Vedantic language. It should be taken as seriously or as non-seriously as that story. Because Vedanta regards what will come now as a story, to be dismissed. Vedanta itself will dismiss the story after some time. It will tell you a story and dismiss it. What's the purpose of telling you this story? Enlightenment is the purpose. Helping God find his way back home. God find his way back to his God nature. That's the only point. What are the questions which come up when we listen to what we listen to in the morning? If you really stop, I mean, it's a nice thing to listen to that you are infinite consciousness, infinite existence, infinite bliss. Okay. But then when you really sit down and think about it, questions come. First question is, look, I do not really experience myself that way. If there is a Brahman which is existence, consciousness, bliss, that I might believe in it. But if you tell me, if you have the audacity to tell me I am existence, consciousness, bliss, my objection is, well, I don't really experience myself that way. I experience consciousness, yes, I am aware. I know that I have something called awareness and that's clear. But I really don't experience it as infinite awareness, one consciousness everywhere. No, I experience it as a kind of empirical awareness. I see, I hear, that's undeniable. I smell, I taste, I suffer, I enjoy, I think, I desire, I remember, I forget. That's the nature of my awareness. This infinite in consciousness you're talking about, which is persisting through eons, we just talked about that, neither rises nor sets, one unchanging consciousness. I don't really experience myself as that. Yeah. Question, it should come. Infinite existence. I know that I exist, I know that you exist and these things exist, but I do not see this existence as some kind of infinite existence. I rather see it as, I think I was born and I exist and I'm changing and I think I'm going to die. Things are born and things die. Things are created, things are destroyed. Things change. This unchanging, immortal existence, no. I don't experience it that way. The third thing you said, I am a source of permanent happiness and highest happiness to myself. I can see the logic in that, but I don't feel that. Happiness is something I feel I should feel it. Why call it happiness if I can't feel it? I don't feel that kind of happiness. I feel happy sometimes and miserable most of the time. And I'm seeking a more permanent happiness. That's as much as I can say with confidence. But this unchanging, permanent happiness, highest happiness is my own self. I don't see it that way. So these are my problems. If that is true, what you said, why don't I see it that way? Why do I see it this way? Question number one. Okay, you see? Then other questions will be there. If existence, consciousness, bliss, according to Vedanta, is the only reality, then what is all this? This Loon Lake, people and all this. If I am existence, consciousness, bliss, clearly there is a body and a mind, it seems to be my reality. Why did this body and mind come and what is this body and mind? Question. What is this world? What am I right now? This world doesn't seem to be Satchidananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. I also don't seem to be Satchidananda. I seem to be a body-mind. The world seems to be a place of living and non-living entities. So where did all this come from? Why did it come? And the question of religion. You're talking about Vedanta, but you have not spoken about God yet. You're speaking about some kind of existence consciousness place. So what about God? Questions. What are the questions? This is the second set of questions. What is the first set of questions? Don't forget. The first set of question is, you said Satchidananda, I am Satchidananda, but I don't see it that way. Why not? That's the primary question. The second set of questions is, I see this as a word, body, mind, maybe God is there. So questions about God, word and myself. That's the second set of questions. The third set of questions would be what is called bondage and liberation, bandha moksha. I seem to be in trouble and suffering. Why so? Why did I get into this problem? What is this nature of this problem, of a human situation? And how do I get out of it? How does God know himself as God? How do I know myself as Satchidananda? That's the last question. So these questions have to be answered. And the answers will start now. As I said, the answers are a story. Why do you say they are a story? Because ultimately they will be dismissed. Why will they be dismissed? Because ultimately Vedanta says Brahman alone is real, the world is an appearance. So when you are talking about the world and yourself and this thing, you're talking about an appearance. What's not true? According to Vedanta, it's not true, it's an appearance. You want an explanation of something that's an appearance, something that's false. The explanation also will be false. It will be a story. It will be a story. Because ultimately what does Vedanta say? Only Satchidananda is real. Existence, consciousness, bliss is real. You are asking me about something that Vedanta considers to be an appearance, unreal. So I'll tell you a story about it to satisfy you. You need to know. You need to know the story. Now you might ask, why this Vedantic story then? Basically what are we going to say? Anybody who studied Vedanta knows the story which is going to come. There is Maya and Brahman is projected as the five elements, sky and fire and earth and water and so on and so on. By a mixture of these five elements, the worlds are created, body is created, life is created. And in this life there is mind, and in mind, consciousness plus mind unite. And we become limited individuals, we desire, we suffer, and go through this cycle until we realize ourselves as Satchidananda, existence, consciousness. So this is the story. But this story is not true. Because only Brahman is true. You might ask at this point, if the story is not true, why not adapt a true story? Let's say the story of science is true. There was a Big Bang, and there was a formation of stars and planets, and evolution, and coming up. That is a much more acceptable story today. That's the truth. If you are saying your Vedantic story is a story, well, I'll give you something that's not a story, that's science. Vedanta would say that's also a story. Why? If Satchidananda alone is true, then the rest of it, Big Bang down to here, sitting in Loon Lake here, rest of it has to be a story. If Satchidananda alone is true. From the point of Vedanta, even science is a story. Why prefer one story over the other? Because science is a story which helps you to understand this world and to manipulate the forces of this world, technology and science, and you get a much better, in-depth understanding of what's going on here. That's true. Vedanta acknowledges that. But what Vedanta says is, your point in coming to a Vedanta class is not to learn about this world and how to design better iPhones and aeroplanes and medicines. No, those are laudable pursuits, but they are pursuits in the world out there. You're already doing that. Your goal here is to attain enlightenment, Brahma-jnana. God has to find himself as God. That's the goal. For that goal, this story, the Vedantic story, is useful. The story that we are going to tell in the next few classes is useful. The scientific story is also a story, and a very good story at that. But it's not directly useful for enlightenment. This is directly useful. So with that proviso in mind, let's go into it. Take it seriously, but not too seriously. What should you take seriously? What we did in the morning today. And they are also only the third verse. go into that, if you can get it as a fact, I'll talk about it once in a while. We'll try to probe deep into that once in a while when the occasion comes up. Having said that, let's start. Verse 11. Abhanena param prema, abhanena param prema, bhanena vishaye spriha, bhanena vishaye spriha, ato bhanepya bhataso, ato bhanepya bhataso, Paramanandatatmanaha, Paramanandatatmanaha. We are taking up the first of the questions I mentioned. Some look quizzical. Yeah, what was the first question? The first question is, if I am Satchidananda, why don't I see it that way? Why don't I see it? You just said I am of the nature of infinite bliss. But I don't experience myself as the nature of any kind of bliss, let alone infinite. So why not? What's the problem? And Vedanta starts the tale by answering the first question. Yes, there is a problem. There is a problem. What is the problem? Note one fact. If the self were not evident, then it would not be the object of our highest love. We just saw that the self, by the logic, and in the last class, that using reason, that our really ultimately everything is done for the sake of the self, because it's what we love the most. Though we consciously don't seem to think so, but everything that we do, even the things that we love most out there, all of them are ultimately meant for the happiness of the self. So by that logic, ultimately we love the self the most. So if the self were not evident as the source of highest love, as the source of highest joy, we would not love it the most. I'll repeat it. If the self were not at all evident, then we would not love it the most. There is something within us which is the source of the highest joy or liking. That's why our greatest love is for the self. But here is the thing. If it were totally evident, absolutely clear, then we would not go around seeking happiness from things in the world outside. If the infinite bliss nature of the self were evident, I could actually feel it, like enlightened people do feel it, do actually experience themselves, the inner reality as infinite bliss, then the consequence immediately is they do not seek happiness anywhere outside. Proof. Look at the lives of any enlightened person whom you consider to be enlightened, the spiritual masters of humanity. In any religion, in any tradition, one thing is they are entirely self-sufficient. They find a joy within. They are not crazy like us to run after things of the world because we want them. Somehow we think we want them. Why do we want them? Because other than that I won't be happy. Unquestioned. And we spend our life, entire life, pleasure, money, power, even learning, creativity, nature, good causes, something or the other out there. Because that's the source of happiness. And it seems to work also, to some extent. It seems to work. We do get pleasure out of that. We do get some kind of happiness out of all of these things. But not permanent, not changing, not unchanging, not the highest, not satisfying in the long run. We still keep seeking. If, on the other hand, you look at the lives of enlightened people, they seem to have found something which is an inexhaustible source of joy and peace and bliss. Whether it's a devotee in the path of love, whether it's a meditator who has realized through samadhi, whether on the path of knowledge, whether it's someone like on the path of knowledge, who am I, Raman Maharshi, whether it is Totapuri who's got some realization within which allows him to wander the surface of the earth naked without a single thing in the world and still happy. Whether it is Buddha or Christ or anybody. So they have got something after which they don't need anything. The Bhagavad Gita says, getting that after which nothing greater remains to be got. Having attained that from which even the greatest of sorrows cannot shake you. Interesting that even after attaining that, sorrows will come. Sorrows will come. The world will continue as it is. But nothing can shake you anymore because you have attained that. So that is not clear to us. That is not clear. So what he is saying is, the self is not totally obscure, because after all we see that it is the object of our greatest love. Everything is done for the sake of the self, automatically. But it's not completely evident also, because we keep running after things in the world outside. That's what he has said. Here is the problem. Do you notice? I don't deny entirely that I am conscious. I see myself as conscious, but not as that infinite consciousness you are speaking about. That's not very clear to me. I do not deny that I live. I am living. I'm not saying that I'm dead or I do not exist. I do live. I am existing. But I do not see myself as an infinite existence you're talking about. I am happy, sometime at least. But I do not see myself as that infinite source of bliss you're talking about. This is the nature of the problem. Why is it happening? Why is it happening? Answer. 12th verse. Adhyetri varga madhyastha putradhyayana shabdavat bhanepyabhanam bhanasya pratibandhena yujyate. The example used here is a peculiar example from ancient India, where children were sent off to Vedic schools to memorize the Vedas and recite them. So even now there are these traditional schools. If you go there in India, you will find little children, usually boys, because it's not at all very gender neutral. So it was patriarchal. So boys would be sent up to these schools to memorize the Vedas. The teacher would repeat a line and the kids would chant it out back. And that's how they would memorize. Now, parents are of course always interested in seeing their kids performing. So here are the parents going to see their star pupil, their son, chanting the Vedas. Now when they reach the school, what happens? They hear the chanting, but all the kids are chanting together. But the parents are not interested in hearing all the kids chanting together. They want to hear their own son. Yeah, that's samsara. I remember I was in one of our Ramakrishna Mission schools. Our order runs a number of schools in India. So one of the schools, Deoghar, and 400 kids study there, 400 boys, they study there, they live there and they study and play. And this. So in the evenings around this time when the kids are playing, there are 12 playgrounds and the kids are playing. And sometimes parents come to visit. Now when 400 kids, from little kids to grown-up teenagers, they're all playing in their own playgrounds and the parents come. But I used to notice something amazing. Parents would zoom in unerringly on one playground and one team of kids and one player. So you want to know how my son is chanting. But what is the problem? Chanting is going on. Clearly your son is chanting. But you cannot, the problem is interesting. Can you hear your son chanting? And say yes and no. Technically yes, because everybody is chanting, and in that chorus, my son's voice is also there in that chorus. Correct. But that's not what I want. What I want is I want to hear that voice separate from the rest. That I cannot hear. So, the thing is, sound of chanting is there and yet not there. What is the problem? There is an obstruction. What is the obstruction? It is the simultaneous chanting of all the other kids. Okay, this is the example. Now, So there's a problem, there's an obstruction. In the same way, in our world, right now in this experience, I am infinite existence, consciousness, bliss. Are we experiencing it? Most of us we would say, no, I'm not. But Vedanta tells us, you are. You are. And yet you are not. There's an obstruction. There's a problem. You know, when a person becomes enlightened, what does he or she, what does it feel like? It does not feel like, oh, I was a body, mind, and here was the word. Now I get it. It's Brahman out there. I am Brahman. It's okay, fine. Not like that. What happens upon enlightenment is something like this. That you suddenly feel, oh my God, it was there all along. I never ever noticed it. It was there continuously. I didn't notice it. I didn't realize it. I didn't see it. I didn't get it. Now I've got it. Swami Vivekananda puts it this way. It's like a trick picture. Once you see it, it won't fool you again. You can see it anytime you want to. Trick picture, do you know that it looks like a mass of dots? But if you look closely, they are told that there is a tiger and a forest hidden behind the tree. There's a tiger. When you look, it looks like a mass of dots. When you look closely, you begin to suddenly see, oh, the leaves and the branches. And what's this? The face of a tiger hiding behind the leaves and behind the bushes there. I see it. Once you see it, it may take some effort looking to let the things fall in place. But once you see it, you know the amazing thing is, you look away, again you look at it's a mass of dots, but now you know the trick of how to see it. Just the tiniest bit of effort and you see it again. Is it not so? Have you seen this thing in childhood? Have you seen this kind of an illusion? Yeah. Right. So once you see it, you've got it forever. And the feeling is, it was always there, I never saw it. This is not what was always there and yet I did not get it. It's because of an obstruction. Here the obstruction is kids chanting together. And what's the obstruction which is preventing us from experiencing an already existing and very much present existence, consciousness, bliss? The answer we know, being long-term Vedanta students, the answer they're going to give is the old answer, Maya. It's going to come. Alright. But first, he wants to talk a little bit about obstruction. What's an obstruction? It's very clear what an obstruction is. Now he's going to confuse us about what's an obstruction. Anyway, so that's what philosophers do. 13th verse. Pratibandhosti bhatiti Pratibandhosti bhatiti Vyavahararha vastuni Vyavahararha vastuni Tannirasya viruddhasya Tannirasya viruddhasya Tasyotpadanamujyate Tasyotpadanamujyate. What is an obstruction? There is something. It exists. It's manifest. An obstruction is something that comes, and an entity which exists and manifests. And what you do to it, an obstruction comes and hides it. And it looks like it's not manifest anymore. It doesn't exist. Existing and manifest. Obstruction comes and hides your vision. So it feels like it's not manifest. I can't see it anymore. And maybe it doesn't exist. That's the effect of an obstruction. It's as simple as the sun is very clear, but a cloud comes, or the moon comes, more relevant now. And suddenly it becomes dark. Now what happened? Blazing forth, it's clearly manifest. The sun, what can be more manifest than that out there? So much light. And it exists, it shines and it exists. The moon comes for a brief few minutes above it. It does not shine. Who knows? Maybe the sun doesn't exist. The old Indian fable is there. Rahu has eaten it up or something. The demon has come and eaten it up. In the same way, the point is, in the same way, what is clearly there, we don't see it right now. The enlightened person sees Brahman, the infinite existence, consciousness, bliss as it is, and it is shining forth. But because of some obstruction for us, our experience is, no, it's not shining forth, I don't see it anywhere, and probably it doesn't exist, who knows? I don't even know whether it exists. So that which exists and shines forth, because of an obstruction, our experience is, it doesn't shine forth, maybe it doesn't exist. Alright. 14. Now is going to point out that Maya. Ignorance. Tasya hetu samanabhi. Tasya hetu samanabhi. Haraputra dhvani shruto. Haraputra dhvani shruto. Ihanadira vidyaiva. Ihanadira vidyaiva. Vyamohaika nibandhanam. Vyamohaika nibandhanam. So what's the obstruction in the example? It's the chorus of the voices of all the children. That's what is making you feel, I can't hear my son's voice. I wonder if he's at all chanting. He is. And it's part of the chorus, but you can't hear it distinctly because of the chorus. So the chorus is the obstruction. And what is the obstruction in our case? Why can't we see Brahman, experience Brahman? Anadi Ravidya. Beginningless ignorance. Ignorance is the obstruction. You just do, the very fact that you don't know it is the obstruction. That's all. Avidya means ignorance. This ignorance is the obstruction. Do you remember yesterday how we started up by, I pointed out, depending on how you construct the problem, the solution will also be accordingly. And I pointed out in the path of knowledge, the problem is seen as ignorance. So you see how he's coming to it. It's predictable. He's come around to that. The real problem is ignorance, and here we are going to give you knowledge which will remove this ignorance. Alright. So ignorance is the problem. Vyamohaika nibandhanam, the only cause of delusion. What delusion? There is no Brahman. There is infinite existence, consciousness, bliss. No, it doesn't shine forth. Some existence is there, some awareness is there, little bit of happiness is there. But is infinite existence, consciousness, bliss unchanging? No, no, no. It's logically you've demonstrated it in these pages, but it's not obvious to us. The very fact this is not obvious is because of ignorance. We do not know it. You're seeing a snake, somebody tells you it's a rope. There's a rope there. And you say, no, no, no. There's a snake. I can clearly see the snake. Where is the rope? The rope is not evident. Probably there is no rope. Not evident, does not exist. This is because of ignorance, the obstruction. What's the obstruction? Ignorance of the rope. Here the obstruction is ignorance of ourselves as Satchidananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. Ignorance of what? Not physics, chemistry or biology or Sanskrit or French. No. Ignorance of ourselves as Satchidananda, as existence, consciousness, bliss. Okay. Now what will happen is, he's introducing a new character to the story. Remember, all this is a story. Because all this will be dismissed in the end and we'll be back to Satchidananda. So what's the new character? It's called Maya or Prakriti. 3 words in Sanskrit. They all mean the same thing. Maya. Prakriti. This Maya or Prakriti, according to Vedanta, this is something borrowed from Sankhya. This is composed of 3 gunas, we know, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, we know in Vedanta. So, when there is preponderance of Sattva, of the element of purity, if you are not familiar with this, don't be disheartened, don't bother also, because it's a story after all. Just take it as something that's there and okay, we'll get rid of it soon enough. More Sattva, this word Prakriti also is used here. It is composed of sattva, rajas, tamas. What are these? These are the three aspects of Maya or Prakriti. Prakriti literally means nature. Prakriti means nature. Three aspects. The aspect of inertia, dullness, darkness, laziness, and solidity called tamas. The aspect of energy and dynamism and desire and activity called rajas. And the aspect of serenity and calmness and alertness and poise called sattva. One is obstructive, the other one is creative but generates desire and activity, and the other one is equipoised, peaceful. So these are three qualities, and we find them within ourselves also in Vedanta. Vedanta talks about these three qualities. These are not qualities of Brahman. Remember, Brahman does not have qualities. These are qualities of Maya or Prakriti. Now, this story can be told in different versions. There is one version which the teacher presents here, Vidyaranya presents here. What does he say? He puts it in this way. He says, when it is more of sattva and less of rajas and tamas, more of sattva and less of rajas and tamas, let's call it Maya. This is more sattva. Sattva plus. And this is more rajas, rajas plus. And remember, all three are present because all three have to be present together. And Prakriti is tamas plus. So the three different names are used here by Vidyaranya Swami. One name is Maya, one name is Avidya, and one name is Prakriti. They all refer to the same thing but different aspects of the same thing, and they have different functions. What are the functions and what happens now in the story? Is this understood that they are all the same thing, Prakriti, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, but different functions? What was the first character of our story? The original character, Satchidananda, Brahman, right? Which we are supposed to be. So here is Satchidananda. This is called Brahman or Atman, the self. Now, Brahman plus Maya is Satchidananda plus Maya. Together is called Ishvara. What is Ishvara now? God, the God of religion. Who is the God of religion? Not Maya. Same Satchidananda. When it puts on the uniform of Maya, it becomes Ishvara. The same person. When he puts on the dress of a dhoti and a chadar, it becomes the pujari in the temple. Same person, after performing the puja, when he goes home and puts on the uniform of a policeman, becomes a cop on the streets. Same person, when he puts on his pajamas and goes to bed, is a person who is sleeping. But the person is the same person, depending on the dress. Remember, the priest in the temple is not the dhoti. It's the same person. The policeman is not the dress. And the sleeper, one who's sleeping in bed, is not the pajamas. It's the person. So because of the dress, the name is different, activities are different, and the characteristics are different. Satchidananda plus Maya is Ishvara. Satchidananda plus Avidya, Avidya means ignorance, is Jiva. The technical term used is Pragya. There are reasons for this, I am not going into this. Ishvara and Pragya. Pragya, who is Pragya? You or me. But in what state? the individual as we find ourselves in our deep sleep state. In our deep sleep state, what you are when you are in deep sleep, that's this Pragya. What is that? Satchidananda covered by the darkness of ignorance. That is Pragya. This is the individual. In Sanskrit, the Jiva. In English, individual. You. You say, just a minute, you told me that I am Satchidananda. Yes, you are. But since you find it difficult to believe, I am going to tell you this story and show you how you are exactly what you see yourself as now. From Satchidananda, we will come to exactly as you see yourself as now. And then we will take it back to Satchidananda again. So that's the story. This is what you experience yourself in deep sleep. And the claim is, in deep sleep, you are infinite existence consciousness, but just hidden by ignorance. Alright. Now, Prakriti is tamasic. This Satchidananda plus Prakriti, same thing. It produces the universe, Jagat. You see, one of the questions we asked, already we have answered two questions. The first question was, why don't I, if I am Satchidananda, why don't I see myself as Satchidananda? The answer was Maya, ignorance. The second question we asked, if you remember, what is all this? By all this, you have asked about three things. Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. Me, the world, and perhaps God. Explain these three in terms of your Brahman. So the answer is Brahman plus Maya is God. Brahman plus your individual ignorance. Not theoretical. What you feel right now. If you yourself admitted it, that Satchidananda, infinite existence, consciousness bliss, I don't feel it. That I don't feel it by your own admission, that's called avidya or ignorance. So that's the jiva, the individual. You, me, him, her, all beings of this universe, we are this. And note that because there are many jivas, millions and billions of them. So avidya is many. Maya, many or one? One, because there is one God. Prakriti, many or one? One, but it changes. But evolves, changes into the universe. If you want at this point to plug in science, Vedanta would say plug it in here. It explains everything. And whatever explanation you give, Vedanta is happy with it. There's no problem. Because after all, from Vedanta's point of view, it's a story. The whole point is to go back there. Alright. So, that's the story we're going to see. Yeah. How does Vedanta explain God, the universe, and you? You means many yous, all of us. So that's the explanation. Let's read the next few verses, it will be clear. 15th verse. Chidanandamaya Brahma, Chidanandamaya Brahma, Pratibimba Samanvita, Pratibimba Samanvita, Tamo Raja Sattva Guna, Tamo Raja Sattva Guna, Prakriti Dvividha Chasa, Prakriti Dvividha Chasa. Prakriti is that in which there is a reflection of Brahman, pure consciousness in bliss, and is composed of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. It is of two kinds. Two kinds means actually three. This Prakriti itself is a one kind here, one kind here, and one kind here. They will talk about it. This one with Satchidananda becomes God. Satchidananda through this one becomes God. Satchidananda through this one becomes you or me. Satchidananda through this one becomes this universe. How it happens is going to be talked about now on, the story in detail. 16th verse. Sattva shuddha vishuddhibhyam Sattva shuddha vishuddhibhyam Maya vidye te mate Maya vidye te mate Maya bimbo vashikritya Maya bimbo vashikritya Tam syat sarvagya ishvara Tam syat sarvagya ishvara. More sattva guna, more sattva, the same prakriti is called Maya. Less sattva and more rajas, the same prakriti is called avidya. Pure sattva, Maya. Impure sattva, rajasic, avidya. Which one? The same prakriti. And by implication, more tamas, prakriti is prakriti itself, nature. Now he says, pure consciousness shining upon Maya is now from this side called God. Brahman, Satchidananda Brahman, seeing through the lens of time, space and causation, is the God of the universe. Pure consciousness, is it all powerful and loving and kind and good? You cannot speak about it in those terms at all. It's an impersonal reality beyond all human, beyond all qualities. You can't say that it is benevolent and just and nice and loving and no. Or it gives reward and punishment, no. But in combination with Maya, all those qualities are now ascribed to Satchidananda. This is Brahman, but what Brahman? The real Brahman is Nirguna, without qualities. This is the absolute. The absolute reality, ultimate reality, it becomes God. Advaita Vedanta is not really about God. It's about something beyond God. It's not really about the individual you. It's beyond you. It's not really about the world. It's beyond the world. What is it actually about? What Vedanta wants to say is Sat Chit Ananda is the reality which we look at it as God, Word and individual. It appears, this is the appearance, the reality is Satchidananda. That's what Advaita Vedanta is trying to tell us. And one thing I would like to add here is something interesting. What Vedanta normally says is, Brahma Satyam, Brahman alone is real. Jagat Mithya, the world is an appearance. And Jiva, you, Brahmaiva, you are none other than Brahman. I'll repeat that again. One way Advaita Vedanta is formulated is the famous saying, it's very popular in India. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Brahman alone is real, the world is false. And you the Jiva, Jiva Brahmaiva Nava, you are none other than Brahman. In terms of our diagram, what does it mean? Brahman is the only reality. It's the only reality. The rest of it is a story. Brahman is the only reality. Why are you telling the story at all? Because you have questions. If you are completely satisfied with this, then no question. So now this is the only reality and this is the story. Brahman alone is real. The world, Jagat, the world, false. The world is false. And you, the Jiva, you are none other than Brahman. You might say, but Swami, didn't you just say this Satchidananda through Maya is Ishvara, Satchidananda through Avidya is Jiva, Satchidananda through Prakriti is Jagat. So in one sense, Jagat is also Satchidananda, you are also Satchidananda, and what about Ishvara? Ishvara is also Satchidananda. True, true. But here is something, a secret of sadhana, of spiritual practice. It is not helpful to put it that way. Which way? That the world is also Brahman. You see, our real problem is we are engrossed in the world. Our attention needs to be taken away from the things of the five senses, from the samsara. We have embraced the samsara and we are holding on tight to it for ages and ages, for life after life. We need to step back. So the teaching is done in another way. That what you consider to be real, this world, which is what you see around yourself and experience. Samsara, it's an appearance. It's not real. It's a snake. The reality is the rope. What's the rope here? Satchidananda. And you, what are you? It would be equally true to say you are also an appearance. Ultimately, Brahman is real. But it's not helpful to put it that way. What's helpful? You are actually Brahman. So your attention will go away from the world and you will look within and find Brahman. Is it making sense? Too much?
If we had to do a test, Maharaj, I would fail miserably.
Don't worry. It's a story after all. You can always write in the test that since it's a story, it doesn't matter what I write.
Then what does the consciousness reflect? What objects does it
Wait, we'll see. The objects that we are talking about, this world, that's called the Jagat, this world. How does it come about? Through Prakriti. And we will see in detail how it comes about. And through Maya, Ishvara. Through ignorance, Jiva. So Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. This is the triangle. Now Vedanta is, I was saying Vedanta is formulated as Brahman alone is real, the world is false, and you are Brahman. In fact, I found another clever formulation, a more modern formulation. Somebody put it this way. Brahman alone is real, the world is false, and the world is Brahman. Think about it. Nice? Brahman is real, the world is false, and the world is Brahman.
Maharaj, where is my soul here?
You are here. What you are asking is, where am I in this? You are here. What you consider yourself, what you experience yourself to be right now is this. And what Vedanta is trying to tell you is, you are this. How do you go from here to here? Yes. Vedanta's answer is, through knowledge. Through knowledge. When you say through knowledge, you're dropping an atom bomb. Like North Korea or something. No, let's hope not. Wait, just a minute, I'll come to you. Through knowledge, it's a tremendous thing to say. If you say something is removed through knowledge, this is a mistake, it will be removed through knowledge. The moment you say something is removed through knowledge, what is removed through knowledge? Ignorance and its products. By knowing the rope, the false snake is removed. Correct. By knowing the rope, the false snake is removed. The appearance of a snake is removed. What does that mean? It never was a snake. It was a rope all along. You did not see a rope as a rope. You saw a rope as a snake by ignorance of the rope. And you made a mistake. Correct? And only knowledge can correct that mistake. You can't take a stick and drive away that snake. Because that snake is not a real snake. If something is destroyed by knowledge, here is the formula. If something is destroyed by knowledge, removed by knowledge, cancelled by knowledge, that thing must be false. I see it as it is, and it's destroyed. It must be false. Something that is real is never cancelled by knowledge. It's a pen. I see this as a pen. If knowledge was a way to cancel or destroy something, that would be terrible. And whatever you see would disappear immediately. Yeah, I know this as a pen, it disappears. No, it does not disappear because it's really a pen. But if it's a snake, you think it's a snake, and you go and look closely and get knowledge about it and see that it's a rope, the snake disappears. Further complicating the fact is, sometimes it may not disappear, but you realize it to be false. Blue color in the sky. Oh, blue sky. But you read a little bit of physics and you realize it's an optical illusion because of the scattering of light. And you realize it's not really blue. No matter how far you go, you won't get blue color on your hands or anything. Southwest jets are not blue because they went through a blue sky. I'm just joking. But after you realize it's not really blue, when you look up there, it still looks. after realizing, after getting knowledge, it's not. But what happens now? What's the difference between a child seeing it as a blue sky and you seeing it as a blue sky? You see the blue sky just like the child, but you know it's not really blue. There's no blueness there. It appears blue, not the least hint of blueness there. And the child might think it appears blue and it is blue. The sky is blue. Roses are red and the sky is blue. For the child, both of them are correct. But you know roses are red, correct. Sky is blue, appearance. Yeah. In the same way, for an enlightened person, will this world continue to appear? Yes, unless that person is in samadhi, in completely withdrawn the mind into samadhi. Otherwise, all the time, the world will continue to appear just like it is appearing to you. But that person knows something that you do not know. Sri Ramakrishna sees Narayan and Dakshineshwar and the river Ganges, but also knows all of it is my divine mother. It's my divine mother appearing in all these ways. So that's the knowledge which Ramakrishna has. And we see the same Dakshineshwar and Ganges and Narendranath, and if we only could. But we see that and we think that's it, that's the truth. But we do not know the reality behind it. So anyway, the essence of Vedanta is that Satchidananda is appearing as Jiva Jagat Ishvara, but the way it is taught is, word is false. You are none other than Brahman. Brahman is the only reality, the world is an appearance, and you are none other than Brahman. So what about God? You do not mention Jiva Ishvara? What do you think? Is Ishvara false or real?
Ishvara is real as long as...
Real.
Yeah.
If you say, I am none other than Brahman, and what about Ishvara? If you are none other than Brahman, what about God? God is also none other than Brahman. Swami, a very senior monk of our order, he used to say that always apply jnana, knowledge, to yourself and devotion to God. And then he would say that, but you fools, you go around applying knowledge to God. Oh, there's no God, unreal. I've read Vedanta. And love to yourself. I am real. My food is real, my rest is real, my troubles are real. No, reverse it. Apply knowledge to yourself and devotion to God. See, if I am none other than Brahman, Ishvara is also none other than Brahman. There are non-dualists, very staunch non-dualists, who will dismiss the reality of God. That's not a very safe path to take. Sri Ramakrishna's teacher Totapuri was one such. When Sri Ramakrishna said, let me go and ask my mother whether I should learn Vedanta or not, he thought he's talking about his own mother. And he would make fun. What are you doing? Going to the temple and that image and all. Here is Brahman. You realize yourself as Brahman. That's it. Forget God, that God business. So that's one kind of Vedanta. That's also a kind. You find that sometimes. I met a Vedantin, very staunch non-dualist, who would chuckle and say, ah, Swami, but I am half an atheist. I'm half an atheist. In Hindi he would say, Hum to adha nastik hai bhai. I'm half an atheist. What he meant was, he does not believe in a separate God with form and whom you can pray to. The only reality he believes in, the reality within, the reality of all of this experience. All right.
So one question.
Yes.
So what did Sri Ramakrishna mean when he told Narendra that he was the same Rama and same Krishna, but not in the Vedantic sense?
Yes.
How is that correct?
That was my question, Maharaj.
All right.
That's right.
He's done service. He asked you a question. So the question was, all right, now let's relax. We've moved far enough. One of the principles of teaching Vedanta is, I've forgotten the exact Sanskrit, Alparambha Kshemakari, which means small progress is good. Too much information dump, they call it these days. So that might be overwhelming. So better progress is little progress. And actually I'm moving much faster than we usually do. Tomorrow, what I will do is, instead of taking up one verse at a time, you won't have to repeat it. I will read out an entire section and give you the summary. Yeah. So one verse at a time, we have no time for that because the whole thing has 65 verses. The in-between section, the story section, I can tell you in brief because it's a story after all. Then we get down to the actual teaching. Remember, everything is over. But now we're taking it leisurely, telling you a big story about it, making a big thing about it. Alright, now here is a question. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that he who was Rama, incarnation of God, Vishnu, he who was Krishna, incarnation, is the same in this body as Ramakrishna, but not in your Vedantic sense. What does he mean? He is talking in the sense of dualistic religion, conventional religion. All Hindus believe God incarnates. Christians also believe God incarnates, but Christians believe in one incarnation of God, Jesus. Hindus believe that it can happen again and again and again. And it has happened in the past, it has happened in different parts of the world, and it will happen again in the future. So, there is God. You know what's the difference between dualistic religion and non-dualism? The difference is this. If you take this as the final truth and remove this, you get dualism. I am here, we are all here, Jivas. Here is a world and there is a God which we believe in until you see such a God. That's it, finished. Are we real? Yes. Is the world real? Yes. Is God real? Yes. What's more beyond that? Nothing. That's it. That's it. That's dualistic religion. Non-dualism doesn't deny any of it, but says that there is a higher reality behind all of it. All of this is the appearance of one reality called Sat Chit Ananda. And non-duality insists these are appearances, this is the reality. It insists that Brahman alone is real, the whole thing is an appearance of Brahman. At the level of appearance, Vedanta calls it relative reality. Advaita Vedanta does not deny anything. And should I study science? Of course. Can we discover things in science which are valuable? Of course. Because we are all talking at a relative level, about Jagat, about the world. Yes, of course you can discover lots of things which are very useful. Should I worship God? Should I believe in God and perform a puja and go to the temple? Of course. As long as you think of yourself as this one, this individual being, all these have relevance for you. This is the world of your religion and faith and belief. This is the world of your empirical existence, science and commerce and art and society. Yes. Vedanta says go right ahead. Do all of that. But what Vedanta really teaches is find out what all these are in reality. That alone will free you. Otherwise, this cycle will continue forever. And as long as you want, it will go on merrily. The game of hide and seek. God, hiding himself as God, has decided to be not God. And does this. You must find yourself out as this. Find yourself out. Now, your question was, what did Ramakrishna say? Ramakrishna said, there is God. And God comes once in a while in the world as an incarnation. He has come as Rama, has come as Krishna, and has now come as Ramakrishna. But not in your Vedantic sense. Yes. Why not? Because in your Vedantic sense, Vedanta says all of this is Satchidananda. So, everybody here is Satchidananda. Everybody is an avatar. The ant and the puppy and the dog and the tree and the birds and every man, woman and child, everybody, even the worst of people, they are all nothing other than Satchidananda. You are all incarnations in that sense. Right? Do you understand what I mean? So that's why he said, not in your Vedantic sense. Not in that sense. What he means is really in the sense of dualistic religion. There is God and there is an incarnation of God. Other questions?
And the corollary question to that is in Mayavati, Vivekananda did not want to have an image of Sri Ramakrishna.
So the story is referring to, the question is this, is that in Mayavati, when Swami Vivekananda established the Advaita Ashram, he writes in a letter to, I think, Josephine MacLeod, or whom does he write to? Or Christine. that I have established these two places. One up in the Himalayas for the practice of non-dualism. No rituals, no worship, nothing there. Non-dual Vedanta. And one on the bank of the Ganges, he means Belur Math, the main monastery, where there will be full-fledged, the usual Hindu worship and all kinds of dualistic practices. Worship and hymns and festivals and things like that. And then he says, let's see how it goes. Both of them. So once when he went to Mayavati, it's in the Himalayas. It's a place somewhat like this, a little higher up. Not very high up, about 4,000 feet or 5,000 feet maybe. It's what's called the Garhwal range. Many of you may have read the thrilling stories of Jim Corbett hunting tigers. Yeah, that's where he did it. Champawat Garhwal range. So the big tigers big cats used to be there at that time. Even now there are, but smaller ones. Now when Swami Vivekananda went there, he saw a picture of Sri Ramakrishna and worship going on merrily. And he said, Budota, the old man has entered here also. Then old man is here also. See, we are studying Panchadasi, the old man is sitting there. So old man is here also. Remove his picture. And the picture was removed, but the monk was hurt. He felt sentimental about it. So he wrote to the Holy Mother, Ma Sharada, saying that Narayan, Vivekananda has said that it should be removed. What's wrong in worshipping Ramakrishna? And he thought that, of course, the Holy Mother is going to support me. I'm worshipping Sri Ramakrishna, and she always tells everybody to worship Sri Ramakrishna. And to his great surprise and shock, the Holy Mother wrote just the opposite. She said, your Guru, Ramakrishna, was non-dual. Very interesting use of words, not non-dualistic, was non-dual, meaning was Brahman. And therefore I can say with all conviction that you are all non-dualists. What Vivekananda, Narayan did was absolutely right. Question, there are other questions? We have time, I'm going to take it. Yeah.
There has been a request on me, there is like an outdoor lecture hall very close to the water over there.
Yes.
Somebody, Shankar Roy, was suggesting whether we should have one lecture on there, what we thought.
Sure, I have no problems, but will you be able to hear of this? Will it require equipment and all? We can check it out.
When we went to Mayavati, they did a arati and worship of some sort.
Oh, it must be the Ramnam, which is, was it the Ramnam? They have it once every fortnight.
So,
Yes, and villagers are invited and people come from outside.
Now, this is a nightly thing inside the library.
Yes, it must be the Ramnam, because you would see the picture of Rama there, and a little singing is there, and a little worship is there. Yeah, that was instituted later on by I think Swami Sarvapriyananda or Swami Brahmananda, Swami Sarvapriyananda, I think. Mainly for the benefit of the local villagers. Yeah. Yes.
I just had a quick clarification. In the beginning of verse 16, you said, pure consciousness is beyond all qualities,
Yes.
but in combination with Maya,
Yes.
it is perceived as...
Correct. I didn't complete the thought. Thank you. Pure consciousness plus Maya is God with all benevolent qualities. When we think of God in any religion, when we think of God, what do you think of God as? All powerful, all loving, just and good and kind and all sorts of nice qualities. All those qualities come because of Maya. The pure principle, existence, consciousness, bliss, is now the God of religion. Through Maya. But in reality, who is God in reality? Satchidananda. Who are you in reality? That individual being. Who are you in reality? Satchidananda. In that sense alone, you can say, I am one with God. But on this side of Maya, we are individuals and God is God. There's a huge difference. So this person asked, can you give me spirituality in one sentence? And Sri Ramakrishna replied, yes. What is that one sentence? Brahman is real, The world is false. Assimilate this. This is what he said. And Swami Brahmananda takes care to point out, saying this, he kept quiet. Sri Ramakrishna kept quiet, emphasizing that's all that has to be said. He didn't even say that you are Brahman. He just said, Brahman is real, the world is false. That's it. Assimilate this truth. That person, yes.
Yeah, Swami, what Sri Ramakrishna said about Brahmajanana, is that everything is Brahman? Is that what he meant, right?
Where?
When he said when you are Brahmajanani.
Brahmagyani, yes?
Yes. So everything is Satchidananda.
Right. Everything is Satchidananda. It's like this, that you realize all the waves in that lake out there to be water. You recognize the ornaments. They look different. They have different names. Something is called a necklace, something is called a bangle, something is called a ring, but they're all gold. So, seeing everything as Brahman, that is the result of Brahmajnana. But I'll take you one step forward. Everything is Brahman is giving concession to the fact that there is everything. From the point of view of everything, you have to say everything is Brahman. When you say Brahman is all pervading, you are accepting space. And then all of space is pervaded by Brahman. When you say Brahman is eternal, you're accepting time. That's why you're saying Brahman is eternal, lasts throughout time. But really speaking, none of these statements are finally correct. The truth is beyond Brahman is all pervasive. The truth is beyond Brahman is eternal. The truth is beyond Brahman is everything. Because actually, ultimately, space, time and everything, these are all products of Maya. I'll come to you, yes.
So if I have the key to the door and I do pass through,
yes,
then I also see myself as an appearance.
You see the person as an appearance. Yeah. Remember, who is an appearance? This person who is thinking of himself as an individual being, this man who is seeking enlightenment, studying Vedanta, meditating, trying different ways, did different things in the world, and now is a spiritual seeker. This business, this person, this is also a product of Maya. When you walk through this door and you see yourself as this person will still continue to appear. It will still continue to appear. But this is what others will call Jivan Mukta, liberated while living. You, from inside you, you will not consider yourself as Jivan Mukta. You will consider yourself as Brahman. That person, all of us, we will admire and worship and love that person as Jivan Mukta. But from your point of view, you are not that person also. One way of putting this is, the person will not attain freedom, ever. You become free of the person. I see you've got Nisargadatta's book. Nisargadatta once is that Nisargadatta's book? Yes. Once Nisargadatta was, somebody was praising him. Oh, Aap the Brahmagyani, you are a Brahmagyani, knower of Brahman. He was a rough man actually. So he barked back saying, you're insulting me. What? Insulting? This is the highest praise that we can give in our culture. You are a knower of Brahman. He said, I am not a knower of Brahman. I am Brahman. Anybody who says is a knower of Brahman is not a knower of Brahman. Anybody who says that Brahman cannot be known as an object is a knower of Brahman. In Kenopanishad, yasya matam tasya matam matam yasya na vedasa avijñātam vijānatam vijñātam avijānatam. The one who says, I know Brahman as an object, who holds this view, does not know. I have realized Brahman, I am a knower of Brahman, does not know. The one who says it cannot be known in that way, that means I am Brahman, the reality, that person has the right view. Or, it is not known to those who claim to know it. It is known to those who claim not to know it. But not to know it is in the sense of an enlightened person. Many others will be there, billions of people who say we don't know it. So that's not, they are not enlightened. Okay. There was a question, another question was there? Yes.
So space-time is in Jagat, holding the Jagat.
No, Jagat is in space-time. Space-time. In fact, one definition of Maya.
Yes.
Swami Vivekananda gives it, Shankara gives it. Strangely enough, later on, Kant. He also talks about it. The categories of experience. Space, time, causation. Yes. Vivekananda says the infinite, the absolute, seen through the lens of space, time and causation is our world. We are standing here trying to understand Satchidananda. What Vedanta is trying to convince us is, you are already this. Don't try to go from here to here. Try to see that you are this. And all this is appearing in you. Question?
Yeah, then, so, at the beginning of the universe, the space-time reduces to here and now. Here and now. Then the seed of space-time is started.
Yes.
Could you please repeat that question?
Yeah.
I'll repeat the question. No, it's an important question. I'll make a few remarks about it and leave it there for you to think. He said a couple of things. He said in the beginning of the universe, space-time reduces to a seed, here and now. That's what he mentioned. Okay. Let me make remarks on 2 points. Beginning and seed, these two words. We speak about beginnings and ends accepting time, the reality of time. We speak about here and there accepting space, right? So, just as it was, the question is asked that if you ask the question, why is this universe here? Vedanta will say that this universe is not actually here. Brahman appears as this universe because of Maya. That's the nuanced answer. But if you are like a little child, children have this knack of asking why. So you can, even there also you can ask, why Maya? Brahman could have remained as Brahman, Satchidananda would have been spared all this trouble. So why Maya? Even if you say it's an appearance, it's not real. No real universe to be explained, just an appearance, just a story as you were telling me. Fine, even if it's a story, it's an appearance. But there also I can ask, why? And Vivekananda, in the Vedanta literature you find, the answer to this question is strange. They say, the question is wrong. Or they seem to obfuscate. Stop you there. You can't ask this. Why? If you ask that also, why? Why can't I ask? I'm asking you. Why? Why Maya at all? It took me some time to understand what they are saying. But Vivekananda said, why is the question wrong? Why can't you ask this? It's very interesting. Maya is space-time causation, right? Space, time, causation. This is Maya. Now, when you ask, you see, let's take 2 examples. Where we are saying that why Maya, this question you cannot ask. This question, why Maya? It's a wrong question. Why? Why is this a wrong question? I'm trying to answer this. It's like trying to ask, suppose you ask, what is outside space? A child who's reading physics may try to ask it's a childish question, but it's a valid, it'll feel like that. What is, okay, so space is circular, it's enclosed, and the universe is there. So what is outside it? Now the answer will be See, even the question of inside and outside is assuming space. The whole question of inside and outside, you're already assuming space, and then only you can ask inside and outside. You cannot ask for a space outside space. That's also space in that case. So, outside space, this question does not make sense. Are you with me? Similarly, time. What was there before the beginning of time? This question also doesn't make sense. Why? Because before and after you're already assuming time. The whole concept of sequence, temporal sequence, before and after, past, present and future, you're already assuming time. If you say before time, there can be no before time, because before and after will begin only with time. So you cannot ask the question before time. Are you with me? Alright, now look at causation. Keep that in mind and look at causation. What is causation? Causation is cause and effect. That's causation. Why is the grass wet? You will say, because it rained. Why did it rain? Because there were clouds. Why were there clouds? Because the water vapor was collected by the sun and it formed clouds. Look, what is the question you are asking? Why? When you ask why, what are you doing? You are asking for the cause of an effect. You see an effect and you ask why. Right? So when you ask why, you are already assuming cause and effect. Well, the very question why assumes cause and effect. There must be a cause to this. That's what you are asking for. Give me a cause. But Maya itself is space-time and causation. Before Maya, there is no causation. You cannot ask why. Let me repeat this. What happened? It's a very profound. It took me a long time to understand. If you ask why Maya, if you ask why Maya, and the answer is the question is wrong. But I always used to think, why is the question wrong? I can always ask why. Why can't you ask why? Because it's just like trying to ask outside space. But outside, inside makes sense only if the concept of space is there. Before time. What was there before time began? Before and after makes sense only when time is there. Similarly, why makes sense only when causation is there. When causation is there in the universe, you can ask any why. You may not get the answer, but it's a legitimate question to ask. But before causation, no why can be asked, because the whole thing about why, cause and effect, starts with Maya. So, why causation is like asking why? Wrong question. You cannot ask. Just wait with this. You see, it will make sense to you if you intensely think about these things and you struggle with it, and then you make this breakthrough. It makes a great deal of sense. If I present it to you before you have had the question itself, then it doesn't make much sense. Answer makes sense only when you have the question.
So does Maya disappear once the person is on this side?
Your answer to your question is, does the blueness of the sky disappear when you realize the sky is not blue? Answer? What is the answer?
No.
Yes?
Yes and no.
And no? Yes, in what sense? You realize there is no real blueness there. There is no blueness at all. Blueness is gone. No blueness. How did you remove that blueness? Through knowledge. You didn't scrub it. Through knowledge, you removed a false blueness. But, as long as you have eyes and you look up into the daytime sky, what will it look like?
But you'll know the cause and effect.
But you know the cause and effect, you know that it's an appearance. It's not really blue out there. In the same way, when you experience the world is always within Maya. So for you, Maya will continue to appear. What will happen is, at that point, when you're enlightened, when you know Brahman, when you realize that you're Brahman, in your enlightened state, you are entitled to call all this Maya. For us to call all this Maya right now is theoretical. We have read something clever and heard a lecture and we're calling it Maya. But for you, it will be a fact. It is an appearance. Just like if I can say, standing here, looking at the deep blue sky, with all honesty and conviction, I can say there's not a hint of blue out there. And you would say yes, because both you and I, we know the truth. In the same way, the enlightened person can say, everything here is Satchidananda. There's no man, no woman, no misery, no suffering, no planets and stars, atoms and quarks. No, it is one existence, consciousness, bliss. And the rest of it is a projection of Maya. Now, does Maya exist? No. Does it not exist? No. In fact, the definition of Maya, if you read the Advaita textbooks, Sad asadhyam anirvachanyam, which cannot be definitely said to be or not to be. If it is, then you cannot remove it by knowledge. Remember what I said. What is real cannot be removed by knowledge. Only what is unreal can be removed by knowledge. False appearance can be removed by knowledge. There is no real blue out there. Once you read a physics textbook, the blueness loses its reality for you. Alright. But you cannot say it is not. But because after all, Maya is what gives you this experience. Brahman is experienced. In fact, Brahman can experience itself only because of Maya. Brahman is experiencing itself as a person, as the trees and the sky and the lake, as happiness and misery, as bondage and liberation. All of it is Maya. I want to make one comment, a very, I'll come to you, last question there. But a comment about the second thing I promised. You used the word seed. He used the word seed. A seed.
Seed, yeah.
Is Brahman the seed of this universe? What I mean is, there is a seed and it has the potentiality always to sprout. Right? A seed always sprouts. And it becomes a tree. And it gives rise to other seeds. And it dies. And the other seeds give rise to further trees and so on. Okay. I'll finish. I'll be quick. Supper. It's like Pavlov's bells. Is Brahman the seed of this universe? From Brahman the universe is created, in Brahman the universe exists, into Brahman the universe disappears. Often you think like that, that's what. But a seed has the potentiality of generating a sprout. A seed changes into the tree and has the potentiality of generating future seeds. And it goes in cycles like that. Seed, sprout, tree, dead tree, more seeds, and so on. It changes. Is Brahman like that? No. Brahman is not the seed of this universe. Brahman with Maya is the seed of this universe. But as we said, Maya is not real. So Brahman is not really the seed of this universe. There is an appearance, a cycle, which goes on and on and on. But it's an appearance. Destruction, creation, existence of the universe, destruction again. Waking, dreaming, deep sleep, waking again. But all through that, the reality is one existence, consciousness, bliss. That's what Vedanta is pointing towards. Vedanta says, conventional religion says, God is a seed. Vedanta says, it's just an appearance. It's not really a seed. Last question, we'll hear the question. Let's see if there's time. Yeah.
Yeah. And getting back to causation, cause and effect, and why. I mean, if you go down that route, it was always a prior cause. You know, it was infinite regression.
Yes.
And that's is that what is the nature of that? Is it absurd, linguistically absurd?
Linguistically absurd, ontologically absurd.
What? How absurd?
Ontologically, as being.
Ontologically.
If you posit as an infinite regress of causes, then you are multiplying beings without end. Cause and cause and cause and cause.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
That's not possible.
Endless reverberation.
Yes, a regressus ad infinitum. So that's also one reason why there must be a stop to that thing. But the reason I showed was actually a very Vedantic reason. That Maya itself is causation. Before causation, you can't ask why. Yeah. Even look at even the language I'm using, before, after, here and there.
The Big Bang of time.
Yeah. So all our language depends on space, time and causation. We cannot get out of this language. It's called tensed language. Tensed in the sense of past, present and future. Language is designed that way. Language is designed for duality. In fact, in one of the verses, in another chapter, Vidyaranya says, questions and answers are always in duality. In non-duality, there is no question and no answer possible. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram